Hello fellow glue sniffers and sprue sniffers, and welcome back to Big Model Works. I'm Bob, you know me as Darkland on the forums. How's it going, everybody? So, a little bit of progress, but not a huge amount in the grand scheme of things, but I'm plugging along. We've got Zimmerit done on the right hand side, except for the very front, because I didn't, as you can see, I didn't glue the upper hull on. And with the upper hull on, there's a bit of a gap there, which is fine. I didn't do that because I'm debating whether I'm going to do full photo etch for these fenders or just use some of the photo etch components and keep the base fender plastic. I'm kind of humming and hawing. But that side's done. The front is done. This is actually still kind of wet, kind of soft. I have not done this side yet, as I have some, I still have to do the mount points. You can kind of see them here and there for the fenders, and I'm waiting for a Eureka cable set, so for the track mounting cable and some tow cables. So I'll have to put all the bracketry and everything on. I want that in place before I do the Zimmerit. The Zimmerit, I just used this little Zimmerit, as I showed you in the last video, and Tamiya basic putty, and literally just smeared it on, push this down and rock it over, kind of squishing the putty out as you go, trying to make the rows somewhat uneven. So some of them are really narrow, some of them are really wide. Some of the parts where the putty didn't cover can be done as damaged. Not going to worry about doing the top. That's going to get all sanded off when I put the upper on, because the whole upper and then the front bow plate will be done as well. I still have to fart around with the back, filling in most, if not all, of these holes, because I have to do the same thing as the side. There's photo etch for all these mounts except for the mufflers themselves and their armored housings, but everything else will get zimmed, so I want to have everything plugged in and then all the brackets kind of put in place where they're going to need to be, or at least marked so I know where to put stuff. So I've been waiting for the cabling to come in before I do that side. So in the interim, I've been doing things like, these are the ABER photo etch fenders, which I've soldered instead of super glued. I will show you how to do that in a few minutes. And just for some perspective, this is what Tamiya give you in the kit. All four. It is thinned down on the back side, but it's all four fenders, or four side skirts, sorry, all bolted together. This will give me the opportunity to have these, as you normally see them on vehicles, slightly bent and warbled and damaged. I haven't done anything to them yet. I mean, they're all done. There's four that are the two in the center on each side, and then there's two left, or there's a left and right front and a left and right back. The only difference is one of the end caps is bigger, so you just have to make sure you put them on the right way. And like I said, I'll show you how to solder those in a minute. The rear fenders I've replaced. These are the kit ones, which aren't bad. I'm sure Dragons are nicer, but these are pretty good for Tamiya considering the age of the kit. This is the ABER one, and all the surfaces work, and I'm going to show you how to do that. So that's the update for now. I'm just going to move everything aside and set everything up, show you the kind of jig that I had to do to hold these together. I don't have anything specific. I just worked with what I have, and the only other thing I did is the gun barrel is all together in all of its gorgeous, majestic majesty, and it still fully functions and stays where I put it. Okay, just give me a few minutes. So here's some of the hull photo etch. I had to get this stuff all prepped before I can do the Zimmerit on the lower hull. So I've got most of the side skirts done. I still have two more to do, and I've got the rear fenders done. These are multiple pieces that are hinged, and yes, the hinges do work. ABER give you a nice little can't really see a little bit. I painted it black. It is brass, but I glued it to a big piece of styrene. I painted it black so I could actually see what I'm doing a little easier rather than seeing brass on brass. But the idea is that you use your wire, and I'm just using some old broken guitar strings I got from a musician friend of mine. And you pick the desired hole, if you can kind of see those holes, and you put your hinge pieces in underneath, and then you kind of fold the hinge over top over the wires. You can actually assemble the whole thing right in here, pop it into place. I'll show you in a few minutes how to do that. The bigger thing is when you're putting photo etch together, I mean, it's one thing when you're doing little stuff like this to use a little, couple of dabs of super glue. When you're doing bigger stuff like this, the problem is that it's really easy to snag these things, and they can get damaged pretty easily. You're popping parts off because super glue doesn't really hold up to a lot of handling. So what I did with a lot of this stuff is I soldered the pieces together. It's not that difficult. Literally all I used is I just used some plumbing flux and a little brush to put it on. This one actually needs to be replaced. It's pretty shot. I do have a soldering iron, but I didn't use it for this. I used a couple of helping hands jigs, these things, a couple of these with a you use what you got, right? To kind of hold everything in alignment. And I use some very small, this is solder, comes on a big spool, which is kind of buried under a bunch of stuff right now. But basically I'm taking an X-Acto and like shaving like a pinhead's worth off. Each of these have like 2 little pinheads of solder put on there, set up in the jig, in the holding jig, held in place, and then I just take like a little portable torch and just kind of, 1, 2, 3, 4, it's melted, done, let it cool, like 30 seconds, and it's done, complete, ready to go. So I'm going to set up the jig and show you how to do these, and show you that while you want things to be aligned as best as you can, you don't have to be 100% at 90 degrees or bang on. You can kind of fudge things a little bit. So I'm just going to get some stuff set up and be right back. Before I get started, one thing that's really critical when you're soldering is you have to make sure that your soldering area is clean, clean, clean. Okay, so these are the 2 sides that I'm going to be soldering on, and you can either use just your plain old sanding sticks and clean them up, or in some cases I use 5/0 steel wool. That's what I used for the fender bits, because there was actually a groove that the part goes into, and I had to make sure this went into the groove. Now when you do small stuff like the sides, you got to make sure that you do a little bit of cleaning on the side. I don't know how well that shows up on camera. There it is. So I just kind of held this in my fingers. You can use tweezers or pliers, and you just kind of, okay, I want to clean there. And you make sure you clean both sides, because you're going to, once everything's soldered, you're going to do a little bit of cleanup after that, and everything will be good to go. So I'll just get all this set up and we'll be ready to burn some solder. Okay, I've got everything set up in the jig. If you notice, I try to keep the clamps as far away from the joint as possible. They'll work as a heat sink, although with a torch it's not that big of a deal. You want those if you have like a joint you've already done and you've got another joint fairly close. You want to use clamps like this to soak up the heat so you don't desolder the joint you already did. So we've already cleaned this up. I don't know if it shows up in here, but I've got some flux painted on. You don't need a lot, but you do absolutely positively need flux. The flux chemically cleans and etches the metal, and wherever you put flux, that's where the solder will flow. So now I'm going to put my solder on, and hopefully like 2 of these is all I need, and hopefully I don't bump this. Because it's a pain in the butt to put everything back. There we go. And this is how fast it works. So work up the torch, and we literally done. That fast. We just let it cool. And I see it popped out of alignment. Awesome. So I have to take it apart, clean it up, and we'll try it again. That was a really painful like 10 minutes. And the piece, the vertical piece, is actually canted kind of inward at an angle, but we can fix that later. I'll show you how. I'm just going to burn it in, just so you see how quick it is again. And here we go. And done. You don't want it to go too long because you can actually damage the brass. I did that on the Sturm Panther that I was doing, the Sturm Panther 2. If you hold it on the right way, it'll actually almost vaporize it, and it can actually look like rusted out, damaged sheet metal. It takes a bit of practice. If you want to try it, you should do it on a frame, like the frame the parts come on, and try that. So I'm going to take this apart, and I'm going to show you how to straighten this thing out. Actually, we can pop that off. Pop that off, still a bit warm. Try and turn this so you can see just how crooked that is. Now, to fix that, I'm just going to use flat jaw pliers. Bingo, fixed. That's how easy it is. Try doing that with super glue. So that's how easy this stuff is to work with, really, if you want to do some soldering. It's really simple. The setup, it takes the longest, but once it's done, it's really, really quick. Okay, so in addition to soldering, I did super glue some of the components, the hinge components. This is fully operational. So if you wanted to display this in transport mode with transport tracks, you could flip that up. It does have some detail underside. This entire piece is super glued, as are the hinges super glued to both the main fender and the extension. And these are hinged as well, as this whole unit could be flipped up off the back to aid in taking on and off the tracks. So somebody had asked on one of the Facebook posts when I posted this up, where I was promptly told I was insane, what kind of bending tool I use. Well, as I said before, I've got this Mission Models Etchmate. This is like from the 90s. It's one of the first bending tools. I think this and the hold and fold were the only things that were around at the time. But I've used this maybe twice. I didn't even use it to bend these. The bending tools that I use most often are that, and once in a while that. All of that I've done on all the photo etch so far to date. The only thing I haven't used out of here is how to do these hinges. Where are we here? And I'm going to show you how that's done. Now, in the set, ABER give you this little piece, and this is for the mudguard set. You can actually buy this separately. They have a, I can't remember the number, I'll put it in the description below. They actually have this with a set of just hinges. So if you want to put hinges on things, on any vehicle, you can do that. But they actually have a whole thing how to use it, how to use steel rod. So I'm going to use some guitar string for this. And how they have you do it is they have you stick it in, fold it over, tuck it underneath, and then take the two pieces and then assemble them separately. That's a real pain in the butt. So what I'm going to do is how I did the other hinges is I assembled the whole thing right on here. Now, it's a royal pain in the butt. I might swear a lot, but the results, as you can see, the results are pretty impressive. Now, the only other thing that I found that I kind of needed was a micro chisel, and that's just when you fold the unit over to get it to go right underneath, you take the micro chisel and you push the etch so it kind of tucks in underneath itself. So I'm going to fiddle around and get these things set up, and I'll cut back real quick. Okay, I'm trying to get you guys as close in as I can to show you how I do this. Now they're kind of interleaved. What I did is I took the big jaw pliers, and roughly halfway down the hinge I made a very slight bend so I can tuck them underneath the wire and get them to interlace themselves. So if you look at this at this angle, you can see they're kind of interlaced like that. And you want them nice and snug together, although by doing the assembling, the crimping process, it'll be a lot tougher. Now I'm going to try and get in, because this camera is like almost right on top of my bench, so I might jar it once in a while. So I just want to bend these up. Oh, crap. Okay, so what I did is I just folded one on each side over, so this thing's not going to go anywhere. Now, just trying to look in my camera lens, find out where the heck I am, and not try and bump the camera too much. Just very carefully fold them over, like so. Other way. Okay, so now each side is folded over. You want to make sure that it's down. Oh, forgot this one. There we go. So I find it's best to push them down so they're kind of angled down. Change these around. I had some pretty good success doing it with the just pushing them in on this side. You want to get right in behind where the fold is and push them, and it kind of tucks them underneath. I'm just going to go in with the micro chisel here and make sure everything's tucked in nice and snug. And that's it. It's done. Now to get it off, I pull this back until it's just tucked in like so. Push it off to one side, and then I have a special set of flush cutting nippers that I use. And I'm going to have to take this off camera to do this. This is what I use for my Friul track pins as well. And this wire's just getting really short. And voila, one hinge, which find the right tweezers to hold it here. There you go. One hinge, which is fully workable. Now, if you want to super glue that on, just be careful not to get glue into the hinge itself. Unfortunately, with the left side fender that I did, I kind of did that, so it's kind of stuck there, and I don't really feel like taking the whole thing apart, so it'll just be stuck there. This one and the other 3 like it that I have to make, yes, 3, are for the front of the front fenders that I have to do. I have to cut those off. I'm debating whether I should replace the whole fender. They actually give you the parts for it all, or whether I'm just going to cut this off and add all the photo etch stuff and just leave the main fender right there. But that's how the hinges work. A little bit of fiddling, but once you get the hang of it, it's not that bad. So that's the update so far, guys. Like I said, still waiting on a few things to come in, still looking for some figures, but things will start plodding along here fairly quickly now once I get the rest of the Zimmerit on. So thanks again for watching. I really appreciate the support. Like and subscribe if you haven't. Talk to you later, guys.